My boyfriend surprised me with a cruise, so I ended the relationship. On Memorial Day, my 7-year-old said, "Mom, why is my name on this ship ticket?" She was standing in the hallway in mismatched socks, hair messy, holding a printed page with both hands like it might bite. Her face looked tight, not scared exactly, just uneasy. I didn't shout. I didn't snatch the paper. I didn't call my boyfriend and start swinging accusations. I made one small change. I opened a note on my phone titled Trip Timeline, and I typed her sentence word for word, because the page in her hand wasn't a gift. It was a plan, and my daughter had been added to it without my consent. My name is Kara. I'm 30. I live outside Orlando, Florida, close enough to the cruise ports that weekend getaway is a normal sentence people say. My daughter is Ella. She's 7, smart, sensitive, and she notices when adults are smiling too hard. And my boyfriend, Nate, is 32. We'd been together almost 2 years. Nate was charming in the way that looks like confidence at first. He remembered details. He opened doors. He brought coffee. And for a while, that felt safe. Because my last relationship, Ella's dad, was more chaotic than I ever admit out loud. So when Nate showed up steady, I wanted to believe I'd finally picked well. Here's what I should have noticed earlier. Steady can be real, or it can be a performance designed to earn trust quickly. Nate's big thing was grand gestures. He liked surprises. At first, it was small. Flowers on a random Tuesday. A dinner reservation I didn't ask for. A weekend at a hotel just because. I'd smile and say thank you. Because who doesn't like being cared for? But slowly, the surprises started coming with pressure. He'd say, "I already told them you'd be there." He'd say, "I already booked it, don't make it weird." He'd say, "If you love me, you'll be excited." And I didn't have the language for it at first, but I have it now. It wasn't romance. It was pre-commitment. He'd commit me before I agreed, then guilt me for not matching his story. 2 weeks before Memorial Day, Nate had said, "I'm planning something big for us." I asked, "Like what?" He smiled and said, "You'll see." I remember feeling my stomach tighten at the "you'll see," because surprises can be fun, but they can also be a way to bypass consent. That weekend, Ella had a sleepover at my sister's, and Nate came over with a bottle of sparkling juice and a grin. He said, "Okay, ready?" I laughed. "Ready for what?" He pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, and turned it toward me. A cruise itinerary. Bright blue ocean picture. Dates highlighted. He said, 7-night cruise, Bahamas, you, me, and Ella, all inclusive. 7 nights. Not a weekend. Not 2 nights. A week. I blinked. "Nate," I said slowly, when. He smiled bigger. "Next month," he said. "I already booked it." Already booked it. There it was. The phrase that makes you the villain if you don't comply. I tried to keep my tone light. "That's a lot," I said. "You didn't ask." Nate shrugged. "It's a surprise," he said. "That's the point." I said, "I have work. Ella has summer stuff. You didn't ask about her school." Nate waved his hand like logistics were rude. "I handled it," he said. "Relax." Handled it. I remember looking at him and thinking, handled what? Because you can't handle a single mom's calendar without stepping on it. I said gently, "I need to think." Nate's smile tightened. He said, "Don't do that. Don't do that." Like thinking was betrayal. I didn't argue. I said, "Okay," and I went home with my stomach tight. 2 days later, my work email pinged. Email subject, P2 request submitted. Submitted under my name. For the cruise dates. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Because I didn't submit PTO. I clicked the internal portal. It showed a request in my account. Time off. 7 business days. Reason. Family travel. I felt cold. Because this wasn't just a boyfriend being spontaneous. This was someone moving through my systems. I wrote it into Trip Timeline. Then I texted Nate. Me, 8:41 p.m. "Did you submit PTO under my account?" He replied quickly. Nate, 8:43 p.m. "I didn't submit it. I just helped you. You always forget. Always forget." That was new. A new story. A story where I'm incompetent, and he's helpful. I didn't respond. I logged into my portal, canceled the request, and changed my password. Then I made another small change. I told my manager, calmly, "If a PTO request comes in again, it's not me." My manager looked surprised. But she didn't question me. She just nodded. Now back to Memorial Day. That morning, Ella found the printed ship ticket. It had her full name, her birth date, a booking number, and a must-bring list that included a passport. I stared at the paper and felt sick. Because I had not given Nate Ella's birth date for a cruise booking. Not like that. Not for travel. Not for official documents. Ella looked up at me and asked, "Are we going away?" I kept my voice gentle. "No," I said. "Not unless I decide." "Okay," Ella nodded slowly, but she didn't look relieved. She whispered, "Nate said it's a secret surprise and I can't tell Grandma." My chest tightened. Secrets again. Kids should not be recruited into secrets. I opened Trip Timeline and typed that too. Then my phone buzzed. Text, 9:12 a.m. Nate, big surprise reveal tonight. Don't be difficult. Don't be difficult. That line flipped a switch in me. Because now I wasn't just uncomfortable. I was angry. Not screaming angry. Clear angry. Because I finally understood. The cruise wasn't a gift. It was a test. A test to see if I would let him override my boundaries. Publicly. With my child involved. And I had a feeling, if I said no, Nate wasn't going to take it quietly. That night, Nate showed up with two things. A green. And a folder. He walked into my apartment like he lived there, even though he didn't. Ella ran up, excited, because Nate had been hyping this surprise to her like it was a birthday party. Nate said, loud, cheerful voice, "Okay, ladies, ready." I forced my face calm. I said, "Ella, can you go brush your teeth and pick a bedtime story?" Ella hesitated. Nate jumped in. "Babe, it's fine," he said. "Let her be part of it." Part of it. That's how he framed it. Like I was excluding her. I kept my voice steady. "No," I said, "bedtime first." Ella went to the bathroom slowly. As soon as she was out of the room, I looked at Nate and said, "We need to talk." Nate's smile faded slightly. "What?" he said, like I was interrupting his show. I pointed at the folder. "What is this?" I asked. Nate opened it like he was unveiling a prize. Printed itinerary. Packing list. Cruise, check-in steps. And a page titled, Romance Package Upgrade. My stomach dropped. Because I knew exactly what romance package means on a cruise. Photos. Dinner. Maybe a vow renewal style event. A public moment. An audience. Nate looked at me and said, "I did it right this time." Right. As if I'd been difficult before. I kept my voice calm. "Nate," I said, "you didn't ask me. You used my work portal. You added my child to a booking. You told her to keep secrets." Nate's eyes flashed. "I told her to keep it fun," he snapped. "Stop making everything weird." I took a breath. "Did you use Ella's information to book this?" I asked. Nate hesitated. Then he shrugged. "Yes," he said. "Because you would have overthought it." Overthought it. He used that word like it was a diagnosis. I stared at him. "You don't get to bypass consent because you're impatient," I said. Nate stepped closer. "You're acting like I kidnapped you," he said. I didn't take the bait. I asked a different question. "How did you pay for it?" I said. Nate smiled again, too quick. "Gift," he said. "Don't worry." Don't worry. I opened my banking app. Not because I wanted a fight. Because I wanted facts. Bank alert history showed something I hadn't noticed in the chaos. Bank alert 3 days earlier. $1,200 deposit, refunded charge reversal. Refunded charge reversal. I clicked into it. The initial charge was listed. Merchant, Sunwave Cruises. Amount, $3,980. My chest tightened. Because I recognized that merchant name. It was our shared streaming account email that got the notification. And the card was mine. Not his. Mine. I looked up at Nate. "Did you use my card?" I asked. Nate's face hardened. "It's basically our card," he said. Basically. We weren't married. We didn't share finances. And he knew it. I felt heat rise, but I kept my voice low. "You stole," I said. Nate's eyes widened. "Don't say that," he snapped. "I was going to pay you back. Pay me back. After making a purchase in my name." I nodded slowly. "Cancel it," I said. Nate laughed, sharp. "It's non-refundable," he said. "And my family already knows." There it was. The real leverage. Non-refundable. Audience. Pressure. Then he said the line that made me go cold. "And Ella is excited," he added. "Are you really going to be the reason she cries?" Using my child. As a weapon. I heard the bathroom faucet shut off. Ella was coming back. So, I did something calm that felt like swallowing glass. I changed the topic. I said, "Go wash your hands too, Nate. Bedtime routine." Nate rolled his eyes but walked toward the bathroom. And while he did, I made another small change. I opened my email and searched cruise. There was a confirmation. Email subject. "Welcome aboard. Finalize your check-in." The email was in my inbox. Not his. Because he'd used my email. In the passenger details section, I saw something that made my stomach flip. Emergency contact. Linda T. My mother. He had put my mom as an emergency contact without asking. And another line. Special occasion, engagement. Engagement. I felt my vision narrow. Because now I understood the romance package. He wasn't planning a vacation. He was planning a public commitment moment. A proposal? Or something like it. That would trap me in front of my child. Ella walked back in with her pajamas on. She climbed onto the couch and asked, "Is it a ship like in movies?" I forced a smile. It's bedtime, baby, I said. Then I turned to Nate and said, "Lo, you put engagement on this." Nate's face went blank for a second. Then he smiled like he was proud. "Yeah," he said, "because I'm serious about you." Serious? No. This wasn't seriousness. This was a setup. I took a breath. Here's what I should have noticed earlier. A man who respects you doesn't need to trick you into saying yes. I whispered, "I'm not going." Nate's smile snapped off. "You're joking," he said. I shook my head. "I'm not," I said. Nate's voice rose. "Then you're wasting my money," he hissed. "Your money? My card? My email? My child's information?" I kept my voice calm for one reason only. Ella was listening. I said, "We will talk tomorrow." Nate stared at me like he wanted to argue right now. Then he smiled again, fake. "Fine," he said. "Tomorrow." He left. And the second the door closed, Ella whispered, "Mom, are we in trouble?" My throat tightened. "No," I said. "We're safe." Then I did the most adult thing I could do at 10:12 p.m. I called the cruise line. Not to scream, to ask about cancellation. The agent said politely, "Your booking is under promotional fare. It is non-refundable. We may offer future cruise credit." Future credit, not money back. I asked who booked it. They said, "The primary passenger email is Kara." Me. I swallowed. Because that meant Nate hadn't just bought a cruise. He'd framed it like I bought it. And that was a different level of scary. I opened Trip Timeline and typed it. Then I changed every password I could think of. Email, bank, work portal. Because I was done being accessed. And I went to bed with one thought. This relationship wasn't ending because of a cruise. It was ending because he thought my life was something he could schedule. The next morning, Nate acted like nothing happened. Text 8:04 a.m. Nate. "Morning, babe. I'm excited. Don't overthink today." Overthink. Again. He always used that word when he wanted me to shut up and comply. I didn't reply. I took Ella to school and tried to keep my face calm in the car. But Ella asked, quietly, "Are we going on the ship?" I kept it kid safe. "We're not going anywhere unless I say yes," I told her. "And you never keep secrets from me, okay?" Ella nodded, serious. Then she whispered, "Nate said secrets are romantic." That sentence made my stomach drop. Because that's not romance. That's grooming a child to accept secrecy. I wrote it in Trip Timeline right there in the pickup line. Then I did something I hadn't done yet. I checked my credit report. Not because I expected Nate to open lines of credit. Because I had learned not to underestimate someone who uses your portals. And my stomach dropped. There was a hard inquiry from a lender I didn't recognize. Inquiry, Sunline Credit Services. Date, 2 weeks earlier. I stared at it until my eyes burned. Because Nate had been planning longer than the cruise reveal. He'd been laying tracks. I called the number listed, and they confirmed a travel financing application had been started. Not completed, but started. In my name. I didn't scream. I took a screenshot and saved it. Then I froze my credit. I opened Trip Timeline and typed, "Credit inquiry, travel financing in my name." Then I called my best friend, Janelle. Janelle answered and said, "You sound weird." I said, "Nate booked a cruise in my name and used Ella's info, and he marked engagement." Silence. Then Janelle said, very calmly, "He's trying to trap you." Trap. Hearing it from someone else made it real. Janelle continued, "You're going to end it right." I swallowed. "Yes," I said. Janelle didn't cheer. She said, "Okay, then we do it smart." Smart. That word mattered. Because Nate wasn't a stranger. He knew my routines. He knew my work schedule. He knew my daughter's school. So Janelle gave me a plan. Tell a trusted person at work. Don't meet him alone. Remove any access he has to accounts. Be clear in writing. If he shows up, do not argue, document. I followed it. I emailed my manager. Email subject, personal safety note. I wrote, "My ex may try to contact me through work. Please direct him to me, do not share schedule." Then I pulled every shared device off my accounts. Streaming, cloud photos, calendar. And I found something else. A calendar invite Nate had created. Calendar event, Port Canaveral, 10 a.m. surprise moment. Invitees. Nate, photographer. Photographer. I stared at it. Because of course he hired someone. A proposal needs an audience when it's not about you. I screenshotted and added it to the folder. That afternoon, Nate texted again. Nate, 2:11 p.m. I told my mom you're finally ready. Please don't embarrass me. Embarrass me. Not, I hope you're happy. Not, I want you comfortable. Just, his image. I replied with one sentence. Me, 2:14 p.m. We need to talk tonight. Janelle will be present. This is not negotiable. Nate called immediately. I didn't answer. He texted. Nate, why is she involved? I replied calm. Me, because I'm not meeting you alone. Then I did the thing that people always judge until they've needed it. I told my apartment complex front desk not to buzz him in. I gave them a photo. Not because I wanted drama, because I wanted to sleep. At 6:42 p.m., Nate showed up anyway. Ella and I were eating dinner when the intercom buzzed. Front desk. Nate is here. My heart pounded. I kept my voice calm. I'm not available, I said. Do not let him up. The front desk confirmed. And that's when my phone started buzzing. Text, 6:45 p.m. Nate, open the door. Text, 6:46 p.m. Nate, don't do this. Text, 6:47 p.m. Nate. Ella is going to hate you. Using my child again. I didn't reply. I took screenshots. I opened Trip Timeline and typed his exact lines. Then Janelle arrived. She sat at my table, calm and steady. She said, "You ready?" I nodded. Then Nate sent one more message. Nate, 7:02 p.m. If you cancel this, everyone will know who you really are. Who you really are. That line was meant to scare me back into the role he preferred. The grateful girlfriend. The easy one. The one who says yes. But my brain was finally clear. If someone needs you to be afraid to stay with them, you're already gone. I texted Nate one final time. Me, 7:06 p.m. This relationship is over. Do not contact Ella. Do not contact my workplace. Do not show up again. Any future communication must be in writing. Then I blocked his number. And I sat there shaking, not because I doubted the breakup, but because I knew Nate's next move would be escalation. Because the cruise wasn't the gift. It was the stage. And I had just refused to perform. Blocking Nate didn't end him. It triggered him. The next morning, I woke up to missed calls from unknown numbers. 3 of them. Then I opened my email and saw a new message. Email subject, "You can't do this." Zender, Nate's mom. Nate had used his mom as a messenger. In the email, she wrote, "Nate did something beautiful for you and you're breaking his heart. You owe him a conversation." Owe him? That word is the root of the problem. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to myself, saved it. Then I checked Ella's school app and felt my stomach drop. There was a new authorized pickup request pending. Name submitted. Nathan. My hands went cold. Because that's not a romantic gesture. That's access. I called the school office immediately. I said calmly, "My ex is not allowed to pick up my child. Please deny any request. Please add a password to our account." They did. Then I wrote it in Trip Timeline. School pickup request attempted. At noon, Janelle texted me. "Janelle, he's posting." I opened social media. Nate had posted a photo of a cruise ship captioned, "Some people run from commitment. I tried." Triet. He framed himself as the hero. And then he added a second post. A photo of a little kid's suitcase. Not Ella's. But the implication was clear. He was using family as content. Raris. Then I felt something else. Clarity. I reported the posts for including child-related content implied, and I documented screenshots. Then I did the calmest think move. I didn't respond publicly. I responded privately with systems. I called the cruise line again and explained the situation as unauthorized use of my payment method and identity. They couldn't refund everything, but they did something important. They flagged the booking for identity verification and removed my email from the primary account. They offered future credit only to the original payer, which would now require verification. Not perfect, but better. Then the final confrontation happened. Not online. In person. Nate showed up at my job. Not inside the building, but in the parking lot. I saw him through the window when I walked out for my lunch break. He was leaning against his car holding a small bag like he was in a movie. My stomach dropped, but my feet stayed steady. I walked back inside and told security, calmly, "My ex is outside. Please escort me to my car." Security did. Nate's face changed when he saw the escort. He smiled, like he was trying to look harmless. "Kara," he said, "can we just talk?" I didn't stop walking. I said calmly, "No." Nate stepped forward. "You're acting like I'm dangerous," he said. I looked at him. "You tried to add yourself to my daughter's pickup," I said. "That is dangerous." Nate's smile snapped. "I was trying to be a family," he hissed. I kept walking. Nate raised his voice. "You're going to regret this," he shouted. People turned. My coworkers heard. And I hated that he'd brought an audience. But then I realized this was always about an audience. So I turned slightly and said one sentence, loud enough for witnesses, calm enough to sound real. "Stop contacting me," I said. "You're being documented." Documented. That word landed. Nate froze. Then he tried to laugh. "You're crazy," he said. I didn't argue. I got into my car and left. That afternoon, I filed a formal trespass notice through my workplace, and I spoke to an attorney about a protective order if he contacted the school again. No drama. Just structure. That night, Ella asked, quietly, "Is Nate mad at me?" My throat tightened. "No," I said. Nate is mad at me because I said no. Ella frowned. Why can't grown-ups just be nice? She whispered. I swallowed. Sometimes being nice is how people try to get what they want, I said gently. And we don't owe anyone yes. Ella nodded slowly. And that's when I knew I'd made the right choice. Because my daughter was learning boundaries in real time. And if I stayed, she'd learn the opposite. She'd learn that love means pressure. The last piece of the cruise story ended quietly. A chargeback. Not a dramatic legal battle. Just paperwork. I submitted screenshots, the unauthorized PTO request attempt, the school pickup attempt, and the booking email showing he used my information. The bank credited part of it back while they investigated. The cruise line confirmed in writing that my email was removed and identity verification was required for any future changes. Email subject, account update confirmation. Boring. But protective. In the weeks after, Nate tried one more angle. He sent gifts through mutual friends. A bouquet. A teddy bear for Ella. I returned them unopened. Not to be cruel. To be clear. Then, 2 months later, I got one final message. A letter in my mailbox. Not threatening. Not dramatic. Just a single page that said, I didn't realize I was pressuring you. I thought grand gestures were love. I'm sorry. I sat on my couch and stared at it. Because part of me wanted to accept it as closure. But the bigger part of me remembered the school pickup request. And I knew the difference between apology and safety. So I didn't respond. Final update. It's been a year. Ella is okay. She doesn't jump when the doorbell rings anymore. She doesn't ask if she's in trouble when adults are tense. And I learned something about myself that I wish I'd learned earlier. My discomfort is information. If something feels like a trap, it's because your brain can see the strings before your heart wants to. Here's what I should have noticed earlier. A surprise is only romantic if you're allowed to say no. When no becomes a crisis, the surprise wasn't a gift. It was leverage. And ending the relationship wasn't me being ungrateful. It was me protecting my kid, my job, and my nervous system. Because love shouldn't make you feel like you need a strategy to stay safe. Here's what we learned from this story. First, a grand gesture isn't automatically love. Sometimes it's a shortcut around consent. Second, if someone recruits your child into secrets, that is a serious red flag. Kids should never be part of adult leverage. Third, document early. Passwords, screenshots, timeline notes, school and work protections, those are peace tools. Fourth, a healthy partner can handle I need to think. An unhealthy partner treats thinking as betrayal. And finally, romance. That depends on pressure, isn't romance. It's control in a cute outfit. If you like calm, realistic long story times with receipts, clear timelines, and real closure, subscribe to the channel. That's what we do here.